In today's episode, we're going to be looking at the thyroid gland and a particular remedy that has real affinity for helping the thyroid and calcium absorption around the body. We're going to see that in various cases from babies right up to post-menopause stage to see how the remedy can help stimulate the absorption of calcium. Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really pleased to be able to welcome here today Ritu Tangri. Ritu, it's lovely to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mary. It's my pleasure as well. It's been a pleasure to work with you, and I'm very looking forward to present Calcarea Carb as a remedy.
Yes, we're going to talk about Calcarea Carbonica. So first of all, let me ask you, why did you choose this remedy to talk about today?
Well, I think I shouldn't call it a favorite remedy, but sometimes when you're using it, or perhaps I'm getting so many clients that probably need it, that it becomes one of your remedies that go to remedies sometimes. And I think there's so many clients, whether it's from all age groups, whether it's a baby to a toddler to a child, and adults at any age it has helped with so many symptoms. um, Arthritis, vaginal dryness in menopausal ladies, then recurrent colds, swollen tonsils, swollen lymph nodes in teenagers and young children, and eczema in babies, so on and so forth. Endless cases. Yes.
It is. It's such a huge remedy, isn't it? And you're right. Some remedies we use a lot more for children than we do adults, or some remedies are very adult based, but this remedy really does span absolutely anything, doesn't it? Every
Yes.
aspect of health. So
Sure. Yes. Yes.
tell us a little bit about what it is to start with.
So basically, Calcarea carb, as the name suggests, is from derived from the shell of the oyster, the middle layer of the shell of the oyster. And I think that you get the really pure version of Calcarea carb from that. And further on, then we homeopathically potentize it, dilute and potentize it, and as per our method of preparation, to extract the most potent form of that remedy. So then, we can bring it into action with in different spheres and phases with different people. Yeah.
So it's such a lovely remedy, isn't it? Because it's got that hard shell on the outside and that soft vulnerability on the inside. And so how does that relate to the people that we're giving this remedy
Yeah,
for?
very similar. So there were people who are actually getting the remedy have got a very similar constitution. In terms of the mental and emotional frame, we can say that they've got a hard shell on the outside. So they are very disciplined. They like to be, they like to have a schedule. They like to have fixed working hours. They need to know, they need to be secure. And it also then, transfers on to their own family, their children. They need to know where they are. They need to know that their family is safe. It's a remedy where they want to be secure, just like the oyster is secure under its shell. So they've got a hard, they're very hard on the outside. But the very contradictory mental symptom is that these children, for example, children have a lot of nightmares. They're scared of darkness. They don't want to be alone. They want to make sure, and they want to know where their parents are, and they prefer to be with their parents in their rooms if possible. Similarly, with adults also, they're not comfortable by themselves. They don't like to be lonely or left to themselves. So you can see that the hard shell and the inner soft body being transferred onto how the mental frame of a Calcarea patient is, or a person is, should I say.
Okay, so it's just really fascinating, isn't it, just to understand what we're actually looking at. And we find quite often that people needing a calcarea remedy are very homely, aren't they? Their family is everything. They are orientated around their family more than anything else.
Exactly. Yes, you're right. So just everything about if we think about a person who is just, ready in the morning, getting ready, knows exactly what he's doing. He's got a schedule, he goes to work, comes back from work. So their life is very defined and by exactly what they want to do. And they want to have the secure parameters and they believe in saving and they believe that they need to know what's going on in their lives. But yes, again, they want to have that hard shell so that they can keep themselves secure from inside because they're very timid from inside. That's the paradox, should I say.
Okay, that's interesting. So we're going to see then a lot of fear and anxiety, and you've mentioned security a lot. So it would be fear and anxiety of losing that security, perhaps of
That's right.
financial worries or work worries.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah, so the what I've seen in practice is that Calcarea is the remedy itself basically focuses on the thyroid and the parathyroid gland
Okay.
and how it all the symptoms generally many of the symptoms present themselves because of a sluggish thyroid and a parathyroid gland. So, and I'll refer that I can, talk about a few cases of children in different age groups and how those symptoms are a reflection of their total energy, if we say so. And these sometimes we also call these kids as old souls because they just want to be secure and they want to know everything and they care for their family. So I'm sure we come across, and I think, yeah. So the first thing, so let us look at, so calcarea carb is basically calcium. Conventionally, calcarea carb is used as an antacid. Um, but here, with homeopathically, we are looking at it is not the calcium that's deficient in the body, it is the using of the calcium. So it's basically the bioavailability of calcium is a problem. How there is enough calcium, the kids are having eggs, milk, and so many sources, and the parents are feeding them quite well, but yet they notice that the child is not, the milestones are delayed, the teething is delayed, and we'll talk about this through a few cases. But why is it so? So the body is not able to pick up that calcium and put it in the right place for it to be available and to pick it up to function in to make it really again I'm repeating myself but to make it bioavailable.
Hmm.
What is the role of calcium in the body? Again, the 90% of the calcium is in our bones and teeth for stimulation of nerves. Calcium is a very, very important mineral for opening up all channels for minerals or any hormones to enter where they are meant to. Calcium is like the door opener, it's like the key to open those doors to allow everything to come in and go, including hormones and minerals. So it's got a very, very crucial role in the body. So should we go ahead? Are you happy for me to tell you about a case of a
Yes,
child? Because
yes,
I
please
thought
do.
we can talk about the symptoms through a case. So I had this beautiful little baby, 10-month-old baby, and the mother was worried that his fontanelles were open. He had a cradle cap, which we would see in many children. A very, very typical Calcarea cup child, sour smelling sweat, night sweats, a lot of night sweats, constipated, then very white, chalky stools. And these were some of the soft bones, flabby. He was not able to stand as yet, 10-month-old baby. Standing is, I think, but not able to sit and crawl. So we could see that there's not enough muscle strength for the child to pick himself up. And the mother was, she was visiting the play group, and obviously by this time she was a bit concerned. So uh, cutting long story short, it was such a clear and beautiful Calcarea Carb picture when I gave Calcarea Carb, and we orchestrated through various potencies. We did see that beautifully everything started to come back in place. He started to show strength to actually hold the table and stand up slowly. Fontanelle started to close. The mother noticed that there wasn't enough there wasn't that head sweat. His pillow used or the bed used to be drenched with sweat. He started passing stools on time. So she was a very happy mother. And as I said, we have seen this so many times, time and again, time and again. But my question is, why did this happen to the child? So I want to break down each symptom and understand why these children and many of the children present with this picture. So the first thing is talking about, I'm just looking at also my notes just because I don't want to forget anything while I'm talking to you. Um, the chalky stools, what is the reason for the chalky stools? The calcium is staying in the gut. It's not still being picked up. So there is excess calcium, and that's why the stools are white. These children are constipated because there's the calcium again, the bioavailability of calcium is not there. This is all linked, generally all linked to a sluggish thyroid and parathyroid. So those glands are sitting in your neck. They're like the thyroid is a butterfly shaped gland in the neck, and thyroid gland, parathyroid are just around those. So, so the sluggish, because these glands are sluggish, the calcium is not being picked up, and so even the nerve signal, the neural transmission is slow. So the intestines are not contracting well, and the child is constipated. But another interesting thing which I want to bring up from a lot of our keynote, Boric, Materia Medica, from Dr. Robin Murphy, and so on and so forth, is these children feel better when they're constipated. They're happier when they're constipated. When they pass a big stool, they actually start to feel very weak. So this is a symptom which is a keynote in many of the books that we have noticed. So again, attributing it to generally a sluggish thyroid and a parathyroid in this case. What were the other symptoms? Soft bones, open fontanelles, because that calcium is not being picked up by the blood and it's not reaching the skull, the cranium. So the child has, open fontanelles for a longer time than they should. Flabby muscles, again, a problem with calcium. So they don't have enough calcium strength in their muscles to be able to lift themselves up. So the moment we gave Calcarea Carb, things started to move around quickly. These children now, again, the sweat was they sweat a lot, and especially on their head, because the circulation is poor. If you touch their feet, the feet are cold. The head is sweating. So that is because of the sluggish thyroid. What happens is that because the circulation is poor and the metabolic rate is slow, especially our extremities are the last places or in our body that receive that circulation. The body prioritizes the circulation in your brain and in your core areas of your body, including your heart, your gut. But the body will say, okay, fine, if we don't have enough, the thyroid is not functioning well, let's leave the extremities out for the time being. So that's why when you touch the hands and feet of these children, they are very cold. So when we gave Calcarea Carb, all of this was, we did trigger and stimulate the thyroid, and the parathyroid were happy and everything started to balance out. You could see the stools clearing up, constipation, there were regular bowel movements, no chalky stools, the child was lifting himself, night sweats had gone, and the fontanelles did start to close up. So we had a happy mother after that.
Yeah.
So that was one.
And actually, obviously, you're saying that all of these signals really in development are
Yes.
signals to match the child to the remedy. As a constitutionally, that's what we do. We're looking at the whole picture and then finding a remedy to help. So what we're saying is that the remedy is actually stimulating the thyroid. It's helping with the absorption of calcium, which therefore helps with strengthening bones, overall strength, and of course quickening up the development process.
Yes.
It's just such an amazing thing to think that why would the remedy be doing this? Because of course the remedy is only stimulating the body to do this, isn't it? It's stimulating the thyroid to behave as it should. It's not changing the way the body works. It's just acting as a catalyst.
That's right. That's right. We did see this happy mother after we
Yeah.
had, helped her with Calcarea Carb. Um, that's right. I'd like to bring up another case of this young girl who was. So the reason we are talking about different cases is because I think we can wrap up the keynotes. We can beautifully look at how the keynotes present in different age groups and different children.
Uh-huh.
Um, but just going back to what we said, we were talking about stools, and these children also have sour smelling stools. And I realized that, because the calcium is not being picked up, the pH goes, the pH of the stools and is going down to very negative, very acidic. So
Okay.
because the blood pH goes a bit acidic, because calcium buffers it, so that's why the stools are also sour smelling. So there's a link to, again, calcium being picked up from the gut, which is sluggish. Okay, going on to this new case. This was a 5-year-old girl, and I'm sure we keep receiving so many queries on our Facebook group as well about a lot of children, a lot of parents worried about their children catching recurrent colds and swollen glands.
Mm.
So, and before the children go, they start going to school and then they're home again, and they start going to nursery or wherever, and then they're home again, and the children do have a low immunity. Now, Calcarea Carb is one such child you would see that catches infections really quickly, especially flu, runny nose, swollen glands, and large tonsils. And this girl had all of these, including fear of, monsters. So she was very scared at night. She'd come and snuggle into her parents' bedroom. And the mother was obviously, she said she's 5, so she obviously needs to learn to sleep in her bedroom. But the child wasn't ready, wasn't prepared. Also, again, there is a slightly paradoxical symptom. The children have cold and clammy feet. Why is it cold and clammy at the same time? Because, as we discussed earlier, it's cold because the thyroid is not functioning. So, thyroid is the gland that's stimulating our metabolism in the body. So, if that's not there, the extremities are, the thermoregulation is poor. So, extremities are generally always cold. But clammy because these children are stressed, because they're so worried. The stress and the cortisol leads to overproduction of sweat. The sympathetic nervous system activation leads to overproduction of sweat. So there are two opposite kind of symptoms happening at the same time. They're cold and they are sweaty. So again, the very clear picture of Calcarea carb was presented in this child, and a desire for eggs. Now, why do these children have desire for eggs? They love eggs because the body is, although there is enough supply, the body is still short of calcium because the body is not able to use it. So we try to pick it up from anywhere. So normally with our homeopathic medicines, when the desire, especially very strong desires and aversions, means something. It means either you're deficient or the body is not able to pick it up. Or the body is obviously not responding very well to any of the alkaloids in that substance of food, whatever we are eating or drinking. But in case of Calcarea carb, it's the deficiency of calcium, which the child is trying to make up through eggs. And they love dairy as well. But at the same time, because they're obviously very snorty and they've got these enlarged lymphatics and everything is so sluggish, and they've got this turtle energy, whereas slowness is the theme. They're not responding very well to the intake of calcium.
It's just really interesting, isn't it? Because I've just thought as well that Calcarea carb has this desires unedible things. So
Yes.
we see, don't we, with people wanting to eat chalk or tending to chew on things. And of course that relates back exactly to what you're saying about there being deficiencies.
Exactly.
So
Yes, yes.
we're not looking at giving more calcium. We're looking at making the calcium more available to the parts of the
That's right.
body that needs it. Really, really interesting. So how did this young girl get on?
So we started her on a low potency, and I think it took it took us not more than a few weeks to see the change. Her nose was no longer dripping. The mother could see that the lymph nodes were no longer swollen. The child was also quite dreadful at night. So all those things started to calm down. She could go back and sleep in her bedroom. The head was not sweaty, because all those symptoms of sweaty head, etc., are also again the stress the child has, the soft inside is showing through fears of monsters and fears of darkness, because these children are soft, and at the same time they worry for their family, so they're also worried that their parents are safe in the other room. So there is a lot going on in their lives. So everything, including the mental symptoms, started to settle down after we gave Calcarea Carb. It was such a beautiful recovery, and I'm just talking about one case, but I think we have seen n number of such cases, n number of such children, and they recover so beautifully.
It is a remedy that we often think of for children, isn't it? Because of all of these development and areas. But it's lovely to hear the relationship about the thyroid and the flabbiness and the slowness as well, because these are attributes, if you like, that are carried on through the whole life, and that's why it is a good remedy for older people as well, isn't it?
Exactly.
Shall we
Yes,
just,
yes,
yeah, shall we
yeah.
just hear a little bit about treating an adult, perhaps?
Yes. So I'll talk about this. This was a 47-year-old man. He was generally, his issues were that he started huffing and puffing when he was going up the stairs. He was just not feeling himself, low energy. Again, very. He was trying to keep him to himself. He did not have the motivation to talk to people. So I think mainly he came to me for he felt that his blood pressure had was low. He felt that he was not able to cope up with the demands of work and family. He was generally feeling quite sluggish within himself, so he was not sure what's going on. And we have also seen that many times when we get blood tests done, things do look clinically normal, but it is a subclinical, sluggishness that's happening that sometimes doesn't show up in blood tests. So we did give him a few remedies, including Nux vomica, because we initially he was having some digestive issues as well. Then plus all this work stress, and there were a few things that looked like he was having sleep issues. There were a few things that looked like a very Nux vomica picture, but it helped him in short term. But it did not uproot his, he was still feeling very short of breath when he was climbing stairs, demotivated. Everything had kind of, he felt, had slowed down. So then we also gave him Rustox, because we felt that he felt that the muscles were again flabby. There was stiffness in his muscles in the morning, in his joints. So Rustox again helped him short term. There were a couple of other remedies we tried before we actually then went on to have again retake his case and give him Calcarea Calm. Within I think a few weeks of giving Calcarea Carb, he could see his blood pressure again came back to normal. He was feeling more energetic. He was not huffing going upstairs. So these were his generally main concern, and he was not feeling as the sense of fear and the sense of constant insecurity was much better with Calcarea Carb. So this was one of the, and usually I've seen that men are not very, generally they're good, but sometimes they like to keep things to themselves. So I'm sure it would have taken him some time to ponder and think before he actually consulted me, but it's glad he did.
Yes, absolutely. But interesting that you're explaining that the other remedies we think of and we try and we see some things develop and some things work and some things don't work and or it doesn't hold until you find the right remedy that is just a bang. Oh yes, now everything can start
Yes, yes.
becoming more
And yeah.
synchronized.
Sure, sure. That you're so right, Mary, because I think sometimes when I'm just talking slightly drifting away from Calcarea Carb, but it's more about case taking. Sometimes a lot of clients ask us, does it really help? Can you really help us with this issue? And how much time will it take?
Mm.
Well, I think that the answer to the question is it's homeopathy is really addressing the root cause, and we are working like detectives. So we are actually trying to work out the root cause along with the client. Each session we have with the client, we're just peeling off a layer. We're just trying to address the root cause. And it might sometimes also require orchestrating between the potencies because every person has had a different background, different upbringing, different childhood, different maintaining cause. So, and different family genetic history. So, considering all that, we want to address each one of them. It takes a bit of time and it can so vary between people. And I always feel that sometimes it's the second or third follow up, and that you get the remedies there. But yeah, as I said, it's a detective work really. So please, a little bit of patience. We all, I think the biggest joy and the biggest passion a homeopath can talk about is that when the clients come and tell them that they're feeling better, I think there's not a bigger joy in our profession. I think that's what you want, and you want to wrap up and then move on from there.
That's the important thing is that health has not got a start line or a finish line, has it? So that when people say, well, how long will it take? We are not looking at just stopping a symptom. We are looking at finding out why that symptom is happening and then
Right.
asking the body to change so that it is working better, so that the
Yeah.
whole body can work better, so that emotionally you feel much more comfortable in your environment. And therefore, all of those things that you mentioned, you start being less anxious in certain situations. You start being less fearful in certain situations. And that to us is what we're looking for. So when people ask, how long will this take? I often reply, we will see where you want to take it because it's your health picture. And for every remedy that you have, as you said, we're either pairing off a layer or we're opening the picture so that we can see more deeply about what really needs to be addressed. And we then can see which way we need to go. We obviously talk to our clients, don't we, and work out, well, what is most disruptive for you right now? And that's
Yeah,
what we're doing, isn't it? Because
I
that's the
agree.
there, that's utmost.
I agree. I agree. So yeah, towards the end, once we have had, that's me as well. Once we've taken the whole case, I do ask them, what is it that you want to be addressed? What's your main focus and main point of concern at the moment? Because that's what we want to address. And then obviously there are so many ways we do that. And we've got our constitutional, we might support with acute remedies. We might support with sometimes drainage also helps.
Mhm.
We might back it up with if it's a family tendency with some miasmatic, or otherwise if that's been going on for some time, that the miasmatic remedies also help. So there is a range of things, tools we have, which are so very beautifully unravel and heal the cases. And
Ritu,
I would like to also, sorry, just wind this up by talking about one last case of another lady who was in around 57, post-menopausal. And she had come to me for two issues. One was a frozen shoulder, and the other was she had a lot of vaginal itch for a long time, and she was really concerned, and nothing helped. She got a lot of creams, did a lot of hormonal therapies, but nothing was helping. It was just not going, and she'd come to a point where she just couldn't deal with it, and she was almost in tears. I remember when she came to me. So these were her two symptoms. I generally, frankly, wouldn't think of initially to give Calcarea carb for a symptom like that. I would go in for more remedies like sepia or pulsatilla, or my go-to generally, the ones that have helped also are creosote and caladium have really been helpful in these situations. They did help her, but it was again, short term. So then, and as well as the frozen shoulder was another big issue, concern with her. But the other things that when we talked about her case, the other things that came up were cold and clammy feet. She was not. Sometimes I think she was not. How we say a Calcarea person is fat and flabby. She was not fat and flabby. She was flabby but not fat. She had a slightly big belly. So it's more about, and a slow thyroid doesn't always lead to overweight. It does in many cases, but sometimes you've got a hypothyroid thin people as well. So one has to make that distinction. But she was generally very cold. She did get breathless climbing stairs. She was, again, her main concern was her frozen shoulder and her itching, which did not. And she was pretty insecure, a lot of things going on in workplace, family. She was a very hardworking, duty-bound, and, I think, nurse by profession. And she was very, duty bound again. She wanted order. She knew exactly what she was. She had a schedule starting from 7 o'clock in the morning right till the end of the day. Very hardworking person. So again, we gave a Ferromet for a frozen shoulder. It helps many times with frozen shoulders, but again, depending upon the symptoms. The other remedies we tried were Briania. We also gave her Rustox. We gave her Caladium, Sepia, and so on and so forth. There was initially, but eventually, I think it was the third consult or fourth consult when we again retook her case, and I gave her Calcarea Carb, and she started showing a lot of improvement in her shoulder, and the itch had totally gone within, I think, the next 3 or 4 weeks. So, so these were a few cases of Calcarea Carb, clients who needed Calcarea Carb with their how they presented with their mental health, mental symptoms, mind symptoms, their physical symptoms, and how they varied from babies to children to adults, and how Calcarea Carb really helped. But eventually, I think it just from all these symptoms, all we know is that it helped with the bioavailability of calcium and stimulated the thyroid and parathyroid gland.
I think that's what I would like everybody to take away from this is the fact that we're not thinking about this symptom for this. We're thinking about this remedy actually stimulating the thyroid gland and being so useful in that aspect, which of course makes sense why it's such a broad remedy and covers so many different people. And it does make me think we need to look at the other remedies in the same sort of organ support basis, really, because that's what we're looking at, isn't it? And it really leads to the question of what organ support is needed alongside whatever else it is you're doing in order to stimulate your body.
That's right. Yeah. So well said. So yeah, I mean, it again depending upon the client and depending upon their overall symptoms. Organ support and drainage is such a beautiful way to support the remedy also, so that the clearing up can happen quickly. And yes, and it itself is an organ support remedy by supporting your thyroid and parathyroid so well. Yes.
Exactly. And therefore, it makes me think that when you see certain people and you think of certain remedies, then we ought to start thinking about certain organs.
That's right.
And that
yes.
can help you. Ritu, I would love to discuss this with you with another couple of remedies, if you're up for that, because I think your insight and the way that you describe things and show them with cases is a really beautiful way for our audience to learn more about not only their symptoms, but also the remedies that we're looking at with homeopathy.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Because I think the closer cousin is Calcarea Phos, which because they're both Calcareas and people are
Yeah.
always thinking about, oh, why not Calcarea Phos then?
Yes, exactly.
But the difference, and I wanted to wrap it up also with it was in my mind. Calcarea Carb is again, is again working and stimulating your thyroid and parathyroid, whereas Calcarea Phos is actually working on the cells, the of the intestinal lining.
Ah,
So the pickup is missing there with Calcarea Phos, and it's got the phosphate as well. Phosphate is a very important element which helps with that pickup. Phosphate is what is the element that is involved in the energy production in our body with ATP is mainly phosphate. So that pickup of calcium in the intestine is where and that's why, because that's not happening, it's not, there's malassimilation, and a calcarea first patient, as per the book, which is many times the case, is very thin and lean and
yeah.
angry, and calcarea carb is more flabby and very chubby, and generally that's what we have seen, and that's what we've as I said, but it's not 100%. It's never 100%. You need to look beyond just the symptoms as well sometimes.
Exactly, exactly. And but such a useful comparison. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming in, Ritu, and sharing your knowledge. It's been
Thank you.
absolutely brilliant.
It's totally a pleasure, Mary. It's totally a pleasure. Thank you. It's been wonderful speaking to you as well. Thank you. Have a lovely day. Thanks. Bye bye.
This episode was really inspiring, wasn't it? Just to think about how organ support remedies are going to be helping us with how our body absorbs certain minerals and vitamins and how it's actually working is really interesting. Now, if you were inspired by this episode, then try these that have been actually selected because they're really related and you'll find them absolutely inspiring.